The fascist Project 2025 recently got a gigantic infusion of cash. According to tax filings, the Heritage Foundation stepped up their efforts to boost the project to destroy our system of government through some new grants. The foundation distributed over $1.67 million in grants in 2022, including a total of $965,000 to organizations on the advisory board of Project 2025. The funding was first shared with NBC News by Accountable.us, a progressive advocacy group. Project 2025 initiative claims to be a government in waiting for the next Republican president, which doesn't have to be Trump. It could be any Republican president who is smart enough to use a pen. So long as they're interested, of course, in amassing power by bypassing Congress, gutting the administrative state, dismantling agencies like the FDA, EPA, so that, that basically do the everyday stuff of actually governing. They don't want to have a government. They don't want the government to do things like make sure that your food is safe. Okay, they want to get rid of environmental regulations, food safety regulations, the things that actually might, save average people's lives. They don't care about that. They want to eliminate it because it might cost a rich CEO a few bucks. Now, the project, of course, would also allow the president, again, a Republican president, to fire anyone he wants at any time for literally no reason at all. The idea is to make a president essentially unaccountable under the idea of unitary executive theory. So that's what they use to justify this, which says the executive branch should basically not be a co-equal branch of government, but be actually more powerful than the others. That would essentially eliminate our systems of checks and balances and would allow the president to bypass Congress. So that's horrifying. The fact that this exists, the fact that you have some very, very wealthy people that are funding this project. Lots of buy-in from right-wing groups. In fact, the advisory board for Project 2025 includes representatives from America First Legal, the Center for Renewing America, the Conservative Partnership Institute, the Claremont Institute, the Family Research Council, the Independent Women's Forum, Freedom Works, the Competitive Enterprise Institute, American Compass, the Coalition for a Prosperous America, An American Moment, a group focused on identifying and preparing young staffers to serve in political roles in government, which again, this entire plan also depends on whoever is the president basically picking political appointees to fill all these different roles, all these agencies that will be 100% loyal to not only Trump, but if it's not Trump, the overall goal of making sure that they get into power and can never leave. Some notable names here attributed to this project are people like Stephen Moore, conservative economist and senior economic contributor at Freedom Works, and distinguished fellow in the economics at the Heritage Foundation. Larry Kudlow, of course, Fox Business host, former director of the National Economic Council under Trump. Kevin Hassett, chairman of the Trump White House's Council on Economic Advisors. Former Republican House Speaker Newt Gingrich is also advising Trump. Moore admits that if Republicans win, they're going to try to run the government through executive decree. So it basically, what is it? What is it?
Oh my God, he admitted it.
So here's, yeah. So again, you also have racist Stephen Miller, Russ Vought. They're expected to play prominent advisory roles to Project 2025. Another notable name here is Leonard Leo. Project 2025's board of more than 80 conservative organizations includes nearly 40 that have received funding from dark money groups linked to Leo, who is described as a major right-wing donor who helped Trump get a supermajority on the Supreme Court. So if you've been, if your life has been affected by a decision made by the Supreme Court, for example, having your reproductive rights gutted when they overturned Roe, or when you weren't able to get the $20,000 at most for the student loan debt cancellation promised by Joe Biden, or if your voting rights have been impacted, you can thank Leonard Leo for that. Yeah, because he helped put those people into those positions that made those rulings. Now, Leo is also affiliated with an extensive network of tax-exempt groups, including Donors Trust. The Donors are a devised nonprofit that directs money to other organizations and groups seeking to influence policy, which is very important, such as the 85 Fund or the Concord Fund. In 2022, Donors Trust alone funneled more than $16.5 million to organizations on Project 2025's advisory board, according to the group's 990 tax filing. One of those groups, the Teneo Network, is described as a talent pipeline for the conservative movements spanning business, media, finance, entertainment, and politics. They actually received one of the highest distributions, more than $3 million. So think about this. It is a takeover where they have a quote-unquote talent pipeline, or basically anybody who is, wedded to fascism, trying to take over business, media, finance, entertainment, and politics. Just a total takeover of the culture. That's what they want. Again, these are the people that are doing funding a planned fascist takeover of the country. The $16.5 million in donations represented a small increase from 1 year prior, when groups that are now part of the 2025 advisory board received about $15 million collectively from Donors Trust in the previous financial year. So, yeah. Look, with Joe Biden's poll numbers tanking, and let's be honest, they're not good. Trump dominating the Republican primary, and the possibility of his criminal trials being delayed until after the election, this is frightening. This is scary. You should be concerned. If anybody's willing and able to usher in fascism, it's Trump, backed by all these groups. He has already promised to put in loyalists and go after his enemies if he wins. One former Trump campaign advisor said this, quote, "He's taken names. That's scary to anyone who has a rational mind, who is a free thinker, who doesn't believe in this kind of fealty." We're not picking people to take out their political enemies. The person said the topic had come up again and again in conversation with people who intended to support the president, the former president's re-election campaigns, but are also wary of elevating a leader who has strongly personalized his political fights. Well, look, his political fights are all about him. They're all about going after his enemies, punishing them. In the early race for the presidency, Trump has already vowed to appoint special prosecutors to go after Joe Biden and his family. He's also threatened to root out his own enemies, who he described last week as quote-unquote vermin, dehumanizing language there. Now, this person says, quote, "These are private conversations where we share a concern that if we are not 100% bowing to Trump, saying the right things, fighting for him, or denouncing his enemies, there are going to be consequences for you and your family and your professional status." So, again, combine the vindictiveness of Donald Trump with near unlimited power. That's pretty dangerous. This is somebody who has said, if you let me, I will abuse executive power. Well, I will, you know what? You don't even have to let me. I'll abuse executive power anyway. At least I'll try. You combine that with a group that's actually trying to make that possible with very, very deep pockets and a plan. And Project 2025 is their plan. And they're open about it. Look, you might ask, well, what are we going to do? Well, look, it's not enough to vote, and you should, right? But really, it's not going to be enough. People need to organize. We need to organize ourselves. We need to organize our workplaces, form unions, join unions. We need to organize our communities. And we need a mass movement to push back, not only against these fascists, okay, these people, these groups that are trying to usurp democracy, okay, but we also need to push back against the system that allows fascist takeovers to happen in the first place, and that's neoliberalism, okay, that's the corporate system, that's money in politics, the corruption, all of that,